Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring Legends of Avallen. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this role-playing game inspired by Celtic mythology, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about advanced adventuring rules, such as risky actions, time and movement. These advanced rules are not going to be applied all the time. Let's start with risky actions. When you take a risky action to overcome a foe or the environment, you usually make a check as described in Chapter 1. However, there are special rules for trying to help or hinder someone. This is called setup. And also when you try to protect someone or something. This is called protect, obviously. Let's talk about setup. This is a risky action made to assist or hinder another character's action, such as distracting a guard, preparing to defend against an attack, or reaching over a dangerous gap to catch an ally jumping across it. When you set up a character to succeed, make a check to create 2 advantages for their check. You may also use your edge for their check if you already have one. When you set up a character to fail, make a check to create 2 disadvantages for their check. You may also use your edge against them if you already have one. If you achieve a critical success, you create 2 advantages or disadvantages and may also use the edge you earn. If you achieve a success, you create 2 advantages or disadvantages as explained. If you roll a failure, you earn an edge, but you cannot use it with the check you failed to set up. If you obtain a critical failure, you give the opposition an edge for the check. The setup action is used only when you are helping in a way that is risky. Your action could help a lot or not at all. You do not make a setup check if you help an ally in a way that is not risky, of course, such as lending your weight to help bash a door down or reinforcing their point in a conversation. You simply assist your ally and become an advantage for them. Let's talk about protect. This is another risky action made to prevent other actions. This could mean preventing actions from happening to another character or part of the environment, such as shielding a relic from falling rocks, stepping in to prevent someone from being intimidated, or stopping foes from moving through a doorway. When you protect something, you can oppose actions that would affect or involve it, forcing them to check against you instead. You become the target of the action unless the check critically succeeds against you, in which case the original target is affected as if you were not protecting it. Note that this is the only risky action that does not use a check. It instead forces checks to be made against you. You can take risky actions against multiple characters, such as trying to persuade a crowd to your cause, or raining fire over a group of foes with elemental magic. When you do, you make one check to affect them all. Often they will have the same attribute rank that sets your check difficulty, but if they don't, compare your check total to each of their check difficulties to find your result against each of them. Sometimes your targets might be affected by different numbers of significant advantages and disadvantages. When this is the case, you still only reveal cards for one check. First, reveal one card and check your result against those where all advantages and disadvantages are cancelled. Then, reveal a second card and check your result against those that you have one remaining advantage or disadvantage for. Then, reveal a third and check against those you have 2 advantages or disadvantages for, and so on until all affected are accounted for. Let's talk about the odds. The table included in this rulebook gives the chances of success and failure for a fair check. A fair check is one for which your attribute rank is the same as the check difficulty. The chance for success also includes the chance of a critical success, and the chance for failure includes the chance of a critical failure. Checks with attribute ranks higher or lower than the check difficulty are roughly equivalent to having that many advantages or disadvantages for a fair check. For example, if your attribute rank is 1 lower than the check difficulty, your chance of success or better is 33%. If you have 1 advantage for that check, your odds of success become roughly equivalent to a fair check at 56%. Let's talk about time and movement. When the stakes are low and you can take your time, Much of the game will consist of back and forth conversations between the players and the game master. In this way, the passage of time or distances traveled become a feature of the general narrative your playgroup navigates together in the conversation of play. However, sometimes the passage of time becomes a resource that your group must manage. This can happen because there is a conflict between multiple sides, or because fate cards are in play during a dangerous situation. In these cases, the scene is played out in periods of time described in rounds. Let's talk about rounds. A round represents a rough period of time in which each player character and non-player character takes a turn. In your turn, you can take an action to interact in the scene or to move a distance appropriate for the time scale of the round. Whenever a rule lets you do something once per round, it means once from the beginning of your turn until your next turn. Roughly how much time in the story passes in a round depends on the kind of play that is happening and will dictate what kinds of actions you can make and how far you can move in a turn. For a fast-paced conflict, such as a tavern brawl, rounds last about 10 seconds and the room is divided into spaces a few meters across that you move between. While fate cards are in play when exploring, such as delving into a cave system, rounds last about 10 minutes and the location is divided into scenes of different places that you move between. While fate cards are in play when journeying, such as hiking through the wilderness, rounds last about a day, and the route is divided into regions tens of miles across that you move between. Let's talk about rush. Often, when time is of the essence, you will want to move as fast as you can. To make more than one move in your turn, you need to rush. As you use your action to move, rush to make one extra move by checking against the environment. You can then move 3 on a critical success, 2 on a success, and still 1 on a failure. If you critically fail, you don't move at all. When it comes to other movement, you may also spend moves available to you to make small, simple actions appropriate for the time frame of the scene. It's important to keep in mind that some terrain is more difficult to move through than others. If the Game Master considers a space, scene, or region to contain difficult terrain, it requires 2 moves to enter instead of 1. To enter difficult terrain, you can move twice over 2 turns or use multiple moves in 1 turn by rushing. Once inside difficult terrain, whatever feature of it that makes it difficult will advantage or disadvantage any relevant checks you make, like any other aspect of the environment, including checks made to move out of it. Let's talk about stealth. Trying to move or do something such that another character does not notice you usually requires an agility check, or sometimes a wit check. If you fail the check, they will usually notice something and come investigate. If they were asleep, they will likely wake up instead. If you critically fail, they will often have spotted or heard you and will respond appropriately. If they were asleep, they will likely wake up and investigate as well. If they investigate your failed stealth check, you will need to decide how to respond. Try to hide from them, escape from them, confront them, or ambush them. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about fate cards and conditions. So as you can see, everything is very clear. When it comes to the setup and supporting other characters, the risky actions are handled quite logically. These actions have to support or hinder a character during dangerous situations. And when it comes to time and movement, it's also very logical to see how your character moves through a particular environment. And I like these stealth rules as well. If you fail the check, you still have a chance to prepare some other movement, tactic, strategy. But if you critically fail, then there is no other way around it. There's going to be trouble. But you still feel quite capable. It goes well with the theme of From Zero to Hero in this role-playing game. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.